Your one click on the subscribe button makes a huge difference. Thank you for your kind support.
The episode titled The Real Iron Claw of Hollywood Demons, Season 1, Episode 5, is a poignant deep dive into the tragic legacy of the Von Erich family. The Von Erichs were a wrestling dynasty like no other, a family that, at their peak, defined an era of professional wrestling and transcended sports entertainment to achieve what can only be described as cultural icon status. However, their story is equally defined by a shadowed history of loss, addiction, mental health struggles, and untimely deaths that have given rise to an everlasting discussion about the so-called curse that plagued the family. Episode 5 fuses interviews, archival footage, and introspective narration to take viewers into the heart of tragedy, peeling back the layers to uncover truths that extend beyond the wrestling ring. With the final surviving Von Erich brother, Kevin Von Erich, as the emotional core of this episode, it becomes clear that what unfolds is the convergence of family dynamics, personal ambition, generational trauma, and the unrelenting weight of public attention. The narrative begins by situating the viewer in the world of professional wrestling. Through a mix of wrestling montages and commentary by industry professionals, the episode pays tribute to the Von Erichs as trailblazers who shaped the wrestling world into what it is today. Dr. Pinsky, a crucial figure in this documentary, defines wrestling as a landscape where athleticism, melodrama, and storytelling collide, setting the stage for the Von Erich family's immense influence. Industry insiders reveal that the combination of spectacle, music, and theatrics associated with the modern wrestling world was largely popularized by the Von Erichs. Yet, it also situates their contributions within a cautionary tale of unchecked fame and personal sacrifice. The juxtaposition of their creative innovations with footage of Kevin Von Erich's sincere, weathered voice recounting his memories of his family establishes the episode's central motif of duality, one of brilliance and suffering. The patriarch of this dynasty, Fritz von Erich, real name Jack Adkisson, emerges as an enigmatic figure. Footage and voiceovers emphasize that Fritz was a towering, almost mythical presence, both in wrestling and as a father. A former football player turned wrestler, Fritz cultivated a star persona defined by aggression and dominance. His signature move, the Iron Claw, contributed to his wrestling fame, and this ethos of toughness and excellence carried over into his parenting style. Kevin reflects on his father with a mix of admiration and resentment, describing him as a man who demanded discipline, success, and resilience at all costs. The episode delves into Fritz's psychological history, with narrators recounting a childhood spent under the strain of Great Depression-era poverty and emotional neglect. The brutality of his father, a man who rarely spoke a kind word to him, is explored as a possible explanation for Fritz's own emotionally distant and exacting approach to fatherhood. The absence of warmth and affection between Fritz and his own children forms a chilling subtext, raising questions about the cyclical nature of trauma. Fritz's decision to transform his family into a wrestling dynasty encapsulates the notion of ambition taken to a dangerous extreme. Archive footage shows Fritz training his sons from an early age, crafting them into wrestling stars who were expected to embody his own ideals of masculinity and success. The sons were not merely his children. They were protégés and, in many ways, extensions of his legacy. As the camera pans over photos and snippets of VHS wrestling footage, viewers see young boys growing into performers burdened with their father's expectations. Yet, as Kevin's voice softly narrates over these scenes, viewers are also drawn to the notion that familial love and ambition were inextricably intertwined. Fritz may have been rigid and demanding, but he also believed he was ensuring his son's success. The tragedy lies in how such love, combined with the pressures of fame, ultimately led to devastating consequences. The episode then transitions to the heart of the Von Erich saga, the deaths of 5 of Fritz's 6 sons. The series of losses is recounted chronologically, starting with the death of Jack Jr., Fritz's firstborn, at the age of 6. Jack Jr. was electrocuted and drowned in a freak accident when he came into contact with an exposed electrical wire. His death is described as the first crack in the family's seemingly impenetrable facade. Kevin's recollection of his older brother's death is haunting, revealing an early confrontation with mortality that would set a precedent for the tragedies to come. One by one, the episode revisits the lives and untimely deaths of David, Mike, Chris, and Kerry Von Erich. David, considered by many to be the most talented wrestler of the Von Erich children, died in 1984 under circumstances that remain shrouded in mystery. Officially reported as a case of enteritis, speculation around drug use and foul play has lingered over the decades. Kevin's retelling paints David as a sensitive and driven individual whose untimely death felt like the moment the family's perceived curse began to take hold. Mike's death by suicide in 1987 is perhaps the most heart-wrenching segment, as it is framed against his struggles to meet the expectations thrust upon him by his father and the wrestling world. Kevin laments how the sense of failure that weighed on Mike was compounded by physical injuries and mental health struggles, leading him to take his life. Chris Von Erich, the youngest and most physically fragile of the brothers, is portrayed as a tragic figure whose attempts to follow in his brother's footsteps came at a high cost. Struggling with physical limitations and his identity within an overweening lineage, Chris's death by suicide in 1991 is recounted through Kevin's somber reflection of a bond that was severed too soon. Lastly, Kerry Von Erich, known for his immense charisma and talent inside the ring, died by suicide in 1993 after years of battling addiction and personal loss. Kevin describes Kerry's death as the most devastating blow, as by this point, he was the last surviving brother still active in wrestling. The weight of survivors' guilt permeates Kevin's commentary, showcasing how the losses have reverberated through his life even decades later. The episode does not shy away from exploring the role of addiction and mental health throughout the family's story. Wrestling as an industry is critiqued as an environment that often exploits its performers, pushing physical and emotional endurance to extremes while offering little support in return. Dr. Pinsky's commentary ties the Von Erich struggles to wider patterns in professional sports and entertainment industries, where performers are idolized to the point of dehumanization. The Von Erich brothers, viewed as gods in the wrestling world, were also deeply vulnerable individuals grappling with immense pressures and untreated mental health issues. Kevin's candid reflections on his own battles with depression and the ways he has tried to make peace with the past underline the difficulty of breaking free from this cycle of pain. Symbolism and foreshadowing are used extensively in this episode to deepen the narrative. The recurring motif of the Iron Claw serves as both a literal wrestling signature move and a metaphor for the grip of trauma that neither the brothers nor Fritz could escape. Archival footage of David's matches, for instance, shows him favoring the move in the ring, foreshadowing his role as the golden child marked by an unsettling fate. Additionally, the image of the family home, with its sprawling Texas countryside and visible remnants of childhood memories, is presented as a dual symbol of nostalgia and grief. The home that once brought the family together is also where many of their tragedies unfolded, turning it into a physical monument of their collective suffering. As the episode reaches its climax, Kevin Von Erich emerges as the emotional anchor of the narrative. His perspective brings a bittersweet resolution to the story, as he reflects on how he has coped with being the last surviving brother. Kevin's decision to leave the wrestling world, abandon the limelight, and focus on raising his own family signifies a deliberate effort to break free from the generational patterns that defined his upbringing. Yet, even in his moments of resilience, Kevin admits that the pain of losing his brothers is something he carries with him every day, a reminder of both the fragility and value of life. The episode ends with an introspective montage, combining Kevin's musings with images of the brothers during happier times. As the camera pans to a dusty storage trunk filled with wrestling memorabilia, Kevin's voice lingers, expressing hope that his family's story will serve not just as an account of tragedy but as a lesson about love, ambition, and the importance of prioritizing mental and emotional well-being. The episode's final moments fade to black with the inscription, "In memory of the Von Erich brothers," leaving the viewer with a sense of both closure and lingering heartbreak. In the broader landscape of wrestling documentaries, The Real Iron Claw stands as a stark reminder of the human cost behind the spectacle of professional wrestling. While other works have explored the lives of sports and entertainment stars, few have portrayed the intersection of family dynamics and industry pressures with such rawness and sincerity. Kevin Von Erich's testimony serves as the emotional cornerstone of the episode, transforming what might have remained a surface-level exploration of wrestling history into a profound meditation on loss, resilience, and the enduring search for meaning amidst pain. It is this combination of grounded storytelling and emotional depth that makes Episode 5 of Hollywood Demons a resonant and unforgettable chapter. The Von Erich family's story is a tragedy, yes, but it is also a testament to the strength it takes to rebuild in the face of unimaginable loss.